It's 104.9 Coyote Country. Good morning. I'm Robert Miguel here with you. I got a really cool person on the phone with me, Cowgirl Peg. How are you doing, ma'am?
I am doing great, thank you.
I should say howdy. You're a cowgirl.
Yeah.
Of course, so Cowgirl Peg, actually, your name is Peggy Sundberg, and you are an author who's going to be in town here in Uvalde coming up this Wednesday morning for the Progreso Memorial Library's Story Hour. It's a lot of fun. Basically, every Wednesday morning, they get the kids, they get them in a little circle area, and somebody reads a story, they do some singing, some dancing, some snacks, and every now and again, we get graced by an outsider who's kind of been somewhere and done something, and this Wednesday, it's going to be you, Cowgirl Peg. So let's talk about your books. How many books have you got, and what's the story there?
I have 7 children's books out. Well, I should say 6 children's and 1 chapter book that goes to the higher reading levels. Uh-huh. They all are horse stories. I've had horses all my life. I'm a 5th generation native Texan. Grew up over in the Galveston, between Houston and Galveston. Uh-huh. Grew up with a horse. Have always had them, and also have always been a writer, and had always wanted to write children's books that had some life messages in them, and just never had come up with the right story until I was doing some horse rescue work about 20 years ago, and rescued a little horse whose story became just a perfect book for kids to learn about friendship and kindness and respect and making smart choices. And so that one came out in 2002, and in that book I had named I didn't know what else to call myself, but my name is Peggy, and people call me Peg, so I thought I'll just call myself Cowgirl Peg in the book. And never anticipated this, but when I started visiting, speaking in schools with that book, because of those messages fit so much into the programs that they're doing, I expected the kids to figure out that the horse was real, but instead they figured out that I was real. And I started getting all these letters and pictures and emails from kids and parents to Cowgirl Peg. And over the years I've gotten thousands of them. It's been just really rewarding and fun. But that's when I talked with my illustrator, and that's when we decided to go with a Cowgirl Peg series and we work with school counselors and write books and produce books that are fun to read. They're happy stories, they're animal stories, but they all teach friendship and kindness and respect. One teaches about dealing with peer pressure, another one about believing in yourself and self-esteem. So they each have their own set of messages. But that's kind of the horses in the books are always real, and we have their pictures at the end of the book so the kids can see that. And I chose an illustrator who actually lived up the road from me when I was out in Colorado, and she has had horses, and her specialty is painting horses, because I wanted somebody who knew the body language of a horse, that would get the eyes and the ears, and she does an absolutely gorgeous job with these books. So.
And what is her name?
Her name is Pat Wiles.
Okay. Yeah, I was looking at your website, which is cowgirlpeg.com. It just looks like a wonderful little resource for kids and parents alike. And like you said, you're writing stories with just a really cool, relevant message, especially, for kids these days, bullying and, acceptance and whatnot, coupled with kind of an old, a down-home kind of Western feel, which I think is great for some of the rural area kids especially, but I'm sure, kids all over the world. What's that like specifically interacting with kids when you see them? I mean, how often do you do it, and where do you get out to?
I now speak in schools every year. I usually go on the road for 3 or 4 weeks every fall and every spring. I've gone all over the United States doing school visits. But the really fun ones are the rural Western, in Texas, Western Nebraska, Wyoming, all of those. Those are always fun, because when those kids show up on Cowgirl Peg Day dressed in their gear, it's the real thing. I love to sit and just interact with kids one-on-one. And I do book signings in the schools, which gives me a chance to really sit and talk with them individually a little bit. But I've gone to Hawaii. I've gone all over the place. I've done really big schools, in inner city schools, private schools. So I've met just hundreds of thousands of kids, and that is the most rewarding part of what I do, because I'm able to leave a positive impact on kids, and what I wanted to do.
Well, very good. We are talking again to Peggy Sundberg, also known as Cowgirl Peg, going to be doing a book reading and signing. So you're going to read one of your books, right, for the kids?
We're going to read at least two.
At least two, okay.
And this is open to any age,
sure.
because if school's still out and my books and my presentation, I can just change it based on the age of my audience. Families are welcome. Anybody. It's not just for little kids.
And then, of course, you're going to be doing a book signing, so you'll have your books for sale at the event as well?
I will have books to autograph, yes.
Very cool. And what's the future hold for you? Now, you've said you've written 6 children's books and then 1 chapter book. And I know that if you've been doing these several years, some of your fans have grown with you, so I'm sure that's part of the catalyst for writing a chapter book, is some of these kids, have grown up with your work, and then they want to read more, developed books. Are you going to continue in that vein?
I, right now, am not particularly looking to write another one. The new one that came out in the chapter book, quote, is a miniature autobiography, and I had my 93-year-old father kept telling me, you need to write your life story, and I kept saying, I don't think my life story is worth a book, but I've had a very adventurous life, and there's been a lot of adventures that have taught me life lessons, some in the hard way. And so I said, I could definitely, because I like to write books that teach kids something, and I thought I could convert this little miniature autobiography into a book that could teach some life lessons by writing about 7 major adventures in my life that almost went wrong, and because of a mistake that I made. And so and at the end of each of those chapters, there's a question that says, what do you think I learned? And at the end of the book, I wrote a little summary tied to each chapter of what life lesson I learned, from this and for that one. And so it's an interactive type of book. It's a very positive book. It's a very funny book. And my illustrator did an incredible cover for it. So that has added, because I did have a lot of students in schools asking me if I would ever write a chapter book, and I kept saying, well, it's a different style of writing, from writing short stories to develop a big chapter book. But I did do this one, and I'm very proud of it, and it's getting some great reviews from kids who've read it. So,
and that one's called The Adventures and Misadventures of Cowgirl Peg, so kind of an autobiography of sorts, and it is your latest one, so everybody go grab that one Wednesday if you can. I'm looking at your website, and it says you're actually your wardrobe is donated by Wrangler, so you got a little bit of an endorsement deal there too, huh? That's kind of cool.
I did. They sent me whole boxes and boxes of jeans and shirts a few years ago, and I'm still using them in my school programs.
Can we expect
you? Yes, they did.
Can we expect you dressed up in cowgirl, attire, or are you going to come out, in a business suit, pantsuit?
Oh, no. When I don't go in chaps and spurs, but I do go in and dressed in nice classy Western. And it's fun when you go to big cities and inner city schools where kids have never seen anything other than where they live. It's fun introducing them to another lifestyle, and also getting them interested in the Western heritage that they have almost no knowledge of. So that's another part of what I do, is try to get kids interested in history, Western history.
Well, thank you, Peg, for checking in on the show this morning. We're excited to have you here in town. Again, that's going to be 10:30, El Progreso Memorial Library. That's at 301 West Main Street. They always do that Wednesday morning story hour, and this time we've got special guest author Peg Sundberg, also known as Cowgirl Peg, and we're really excited to have you in town. It's going to be a blast. I know that I'm not into kids' books, but I'm certainly going to stop by and try to shake your hand. So thank you so much for taking the time out of your day to talk to us.
I enjoyed it very much, and I will see everybody on Wednesday.
And again, your website is cowgirlpeg.com. Do you have any other social media or anything you'd like to plug while we got you still?
Cowgirl Peg book Facebook page.
Okay. Cowgirl Peg on Facebook. Okay. Well, thank you so much again. All right. We'll see you Wednesday.
Thank you.